Welcome to Perverted Justice. This is not just a story. It's a call to action for integrity and radical honesty, in spite of personal cost. Now here's your host, Shielagh Clark.
Welcome back. This is episode 17. As I mentioned last week, I am going to get into the conversation that I had with Dale Blue and Alex Valentine after the concert at Hyde Park Baptist Church in July of 2022. After some deliberation and helpful listener feedback, I have decided that the best way to handle this is to include portions of the meeting here in the podcast so that I can discuss them. But I've also created a YouTube video of the entire recording. I tried to put captions, but I spent several hours on it and then lost them, so you're just going to have to do your best trying to understand what they're saying. I'm sorry. But I'm also going to try to put bookmarks in there when I get it uploaded to YouTube so that what's included in the podcast is marked in the full recording, and you'll see that they're all in order. Anyway, yes, I will link to that video in the show notes once I have it up. You might hear a thunderstorm in the background of this recording, but I am already so far behind schedule, I can't wait for it to pass. Okay, so like I said last week, Alex asked to talk to me, so he, Dale Blue, Tom Slaughter, and I all sat down at a picnic table outside the church. Here is Alex.
Just stand there and look silly. So now, you feel we're not doing this correctly, and I want to understand your viewpoint. We are a different church. What happened, and there's no way to change it. All we want to do is to give you what we can. And that's from the first meeting with the lawyer.
What is it that you think that I want from you?
I have no idea. I'll be quite honest with you.
Why don't you know?
Why don't I know? Because I don't. Quite frankly, I don't know. And I guess we've never talked about it.
Why not?
And here's the difficulty is the first thing the lawyers will tell you is don't say anything because it will be used against you in a court of law.
So you didn't talk to me because you're afraid of losing your building?
No. We didn't talk to you because that is what our legal counsel said.
And lawyers trump Jesus.
Lawyers do not trump Jesus. No.
So then why didn't you talk to me?
Okay. Because as representatives of the church, there's two pieces of it. There is the legal piece, and then there's the what should we do from a Christian perspective? And I will be quite frank with you. From a Christian perspective, what do? We pray. We seek God's answers, and some of it is unclear. What are you looking for? And I'll ask you that question straight up.
I'm not going to answer that question right now. We need to go into this issue a little bit further because you don't know what I want because you have not spoken to me.
I'm speaking to you now.
It's been 2.5 years.
So we spent the first 40-ish minutes of this conversation going around and around, dancing around this issue of why didn't you talk to me? Alex was arguing in circles. We didn't talk to you because it's going to be used against us. The lawyers told us not to. Me asking why do lawyers trump Jesus? Him saying that they don't. So why didn't you talk to me? Just this circular argument over and over again. And Dale finally said that the reason he didn't talk to me in 2019 was because he was aware of how I was treating other people. But he refused to elaborate beyond that. He wouldn't tell me what he was talking about. He wouldn't even hint at what the behavior was. And then at one point in there, he actually said that anything that I hear about him is just a story that someone decided to tell me. But he can't turn that around and realize that he's listening to and believing stories about me And we're sitting across from each other, and he's refusing to even allow me the opportunity to defend myself or dispel a rumor. But he's also using whatever it is that he thinks he knows as a reason to have not spoken to me. So I took some time to go through a lot of the things we've already covered in the podcast and just explain, I just laid out for Dale everything that I'd done up until the point that I texted him in 2019 so that I could tell him or try to help prove to him that whatever it is he thinks he knows is probably not true. I'm not going to bore you with that, but this is where I got up to texting him.
Okay, but I'm telling you, like, what I did. This is the sum total of everything that I did, and I'm leading up to, I just got to you. So, I have done these things, and none of those things, at least from my perspective, are mistreating anyone. Posting the review might have been on the edge, and I deleted it after they had their meeting.
The review I'm referencing there is the review that I left on the Facebook page of Mike Green's church way back when I bumped into Jim Mitchell in 2019.
So, if you're aware of something that I've done, it's probably not true. And if that's the basis for why you're refusing to speak to me, I would say that that's kind of unfounded.
I think that I've done something that you and I have no idea.
I don't think that you've done something that I'm not aware of. I just think that you're not talking to me. And you're sitting there telling me that you won't talk to me. Because there are lawyers involved. And I don't understand why lawyers trump Jesus. Like, what is it about me that is such a freaking threat that people run away from me? Grown men are running away from me. It's kind of silly, really. Why are you shaking your head? Like, are you... I didn't file a lawsuit back then, but you still were not willing to talk to me. Except through whatever the proper manner is, but I don't know what that is. Except if you're only willing to speak to a police investigator.
I have absolutely spoken.
Why won't you talk to me? Because I'm a human being. Like a living, breathing, actual human being.
Yeah, Shielagh.
Who was harmed by this place. And you still lead this place. You've been here. You rotate.
There is nothing here from when that happened.
You're still here. You're still here. You're still here.
That would only make sense to say if we were somehow a part of what happened to you.
So I raised the audio there a little bit, trying to help you to hear what he was saying. First he said, there's nothing here that was here when you were here. There's nothing here that was here when that happened. And I said that you're still here to both of them. And he said that would only make sense to say if we were somehow a part of what happened to you, which is why I next go into what the most damaging part of my abuse was, that it wasn't my sexual abuse. It was the church's response. Listen.
Do you know what the most damaging aspect of what happened to me was? Any idea? You want to venture a guess?
I don't have a lot of detail, but I would say letting Weaver leave this building was number one. I would believe that letting a group of men on the board, did they actually talk to you in a room where you were by yourself?
My mother was there.
Mother was there.
It's still inappropriate.
Because your life situation was different at home, and I think that was the biggest mistake. Being a new person in church, and it continues to haunt me by being shocked and not knowing what was going on, that I didn't stand up and say, hold it. I know we had a conversation after when things are going wild, and we failed. We failed you 100%. Anybody in that church failed you 100% by not holding the guy. But we can still fail. We failed. You failed by not shaking my hand over there, thinking I had some preordained thing. Smile all you want, Dale. And your whispering does not make you seem softer. But you didn't shake my hand, which really hurt, and you thought I was up to something.
So Tom is going into how he feels like he and everyone else failed me by not making sure that Weaver was prosecuted back in 2005. Obviously, there are things that he doesn't know about what did happen, but he is correct. The church itself attached itself to the wrong narrative, did not protect me, did not protect my name, did not help me to understand that I was abused, did not help me shoulder or endure the legal process. And Dale's response to that is that no, we didn't fail because we weren't professionals. No one was a professional in how to handle this. So he's refusing to accept or acknowledge that their behavior was a failure. It negatively impacted me. It had a very negative impact on my life. But his position is that they didn't fail because they weren't professionals.
And I think you're almost hearing her, and I might be wrong, but she just wants to be seen as Shielagh and not a piece of paper, and she goes back to the beginning and wanting to say, why didn't anybody talk to her before anything was being in legal services, whatever the process is.
And Phil's claiming that he has a reason, but he won't tell me what it is.
But we all failed. Whoever was in that church, we all failed. Yes, none of us are perfect. None of us been through that situation. But Shielagh was through it. There was a board there, and we all failed it. Even the lowest person in that auditorium that was there that knows kind of what was happening failed by letting this happen, by letting it go, by letting him slip. And that's part of independent church problem. There's no accountability.
And I would agree with that statement, because I was here less than a year when that happened, and I might
have been in the same boat as you, I'm not sure.
And the hardest part was sitting there going, what is going on?
And we failed, right? Did we stand up and say, hold it?
I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
So anyway, I think Tom was right there on the mark, but he got some agreement from Alex, finally. None from Dale. Dale thinks that he can live in his own reality, and whatever the way that he sees something is the way that something is. His version and your version. And I guess you get to live in your own reality.
Well, I'd say the most damaging part of this, for me, okay, I think this might require a little bit of backstory. But while I was being abused, I was being threatened that if I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or I told people what was going on, that Weaver was going to destroy the church and walk out on his feet. Okay? So, I was also told from the very beginning that the way I dressed was the reason for what was happening to me.
And just for clarity, I never dressed inappropriately. I had a skirt that didn't quite touch my knee. And that is the skirt that Weaver blamed his behavior on. And I wasn't even wearing it that day. I was wearing a floor-length skirt. But he said that I owned this skirt. And not to worry, because from now on he'll tell me if I'm wearing something immodest.
This wasn't my fault. And now I was on my shoulders to keep the church together. So then, all this crap happens, I come back to the church. I told Pete and Buccio, I think Mike Green was there that day, I read my letter. And as soon as I was done reading my letter, Buccio said, call the police. So, the police were called, and they didn't excuse themselves from the room, and they sat and they listened to my report to the police, which was very uncomfortable. And I didn't say everything that I should have said. I didn't know how to say. Okay? And police left. And Pete Nargi walked up to me. He looked me in the eyes and he said, "I saw where you parked your car all those nights trying to hide it. I could have looked at the cell phone bill to see who he was talking to all the time." And he stared at me. And then he walked away. And then I had to come back to church and meet with the board. And you were there. It was Tuesday night. And I wasn't speaking at first because I forgot my letter. And I was terrified. Terrified! And Pete Nargi said, "You better start talking, because I have better things to do." Do you remember that? And then Ken Schneider said, "I disagree. I have all night. This is the hardest thing that I've ever done." And that was the only supportive statement that was made in that meeting. I said what I needed to say. I told the church about what happened. I told you about the threats that he made. I told you about what happened to Bob Jones when I was 16. And I know for a fact I said that because I remember in that meeting that you said
why he made me sleep
that you said you had to stay in the dorm.
Yep. I remember.
And then Buccio confiscated my phone in that meeting. And he held it up like this, and he said, "Now I'm not going to find any text messages from Weaver in here, because when you were at the house, I guess went through my phone, because they confiscated my phone too, took away all of my agency, kidnapped me basically and held me hostage. I wasn't allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to make my own choices. I was trapped. They took my car. Come here. I have a meeting with you." He steals the phone. Todd Petit had it in his hand. They flip it open, and they're going through all my messages and my contacts, calling out who it might be, like what contact might be Weaver. No text messages in my phone. And I remember Todd said, "Oh, maybe it's the rejection hotline," because I had that saved in my phone because I thought it was funny. And then Buccio kept my phone for a long time. And then it was Jim Mitchell who said, "Well, how important is your church membership to you?" in that meeting. And I was required to take a pregnancy test so the board could see it. It's not appropriate. My cell phone was confiscated and kept for at least a month. My father had to come here and get it from Buccio because he refused to give it back to me. And then I was made to publicly apologize. I was publicly shamed. And I got up in this room right here, and I read my letter, crying the entire time, thinking that this was my fault. I came to the church, I came to you, thinking that you were going to explain to me what happened to me. And I was blamed for what happened to me. And that is what was the most damaging part of all of my abuse, was not my abuse. It's the way the church treated me afterward. And then I was spat at, and horrible things were said to me. Tony Caricci, when I was 17 years old, he came to a youth event at the Eggers house, and he gave his testimonies talking about his prior life of drugs and alcohol and women and whatever, and then he starts talking about how amazing Weaver is and how perfect he is, right? He idolized Weaver. And I remember thinking at 17 that I really had broken something perfect. And if Caricci ever found out, then it would destroy him. And do you know what it did to me when he put a bullet in his head in 2012? I went to his house because he was so upset, because I felt like I was responsible for that, and he screamed at me and told me that I shouldn't be spreading my legs for the bishop. And then he started spreading rumors about the fact that I wasn't ever really pregnant, and it was just a grand scheme between me and Buccio to get Weaver thrown out. I came here one day after I actually left the church because my car was broken, and Mary Daggett walked up to me and asked me if I planned on coming here on a regular basis, and I told her no, and she said, good, because I had no right being here, because I just remind everyone of all the bad things that have happened. I was abused by this institution, not just by Weaver, and I think that the abuse that I suffered at the hands of this institution is way worse than what I suffered at Weaver at his hands. Worse. This isn't about, and this lawsuit has never been about what Weaver did to me. Unfortunately, the way CVA works, they're only allowed to put in there what happened when I was underage, and they just put in a couple of things that kind of explained how it ended. None of the things that were important to me about how the church treated me wound up in my lawsuit.
So Dale softened quite a bit after my little rant. He's still whispering, which makes everything that he's saying very hard to hear. But he said, well, you'll hear him in a second if you listen closely. He says, you didn't deserve any of that. And then a little bit later on, he's just trying to tell me that he didn't know, he doesn't know what other people did, he doesn't know what he can do. He's just like, he's trying to distance himself from it. And he keeps looking at, the frustrating thing about Dale is that he keeps trying to isolate himself as an individual, powerless, unaffiliated, and not to be blamed person, instead of recognizing that he is board member, long-time board member. He's put himself in a position of spiritual authority, and he's trying to distance himself from the influence and impact that a person has when they hold a role in a church.
You didn't deserve any of that.
I don't deserve anything right now either.
But I don't know what I can do. I don't know what I can do.
I wanted to be treated like a human being. That's what I wanted. I wanted somebody to be brave enough to say we did the wrong thing. And I'm sorry. And I want to make it right. And I don't want your money. I want to be treated like a human being. I'm tired of being lied about. I'm not a liar. I've done everything that I could possibly do to be as clear and honest as I could possibly be this whole time. What I want is the truth. That's what I want. There were so many things I didn't know in 2019 that I found out in this process.
And I don't know. Probably more things that I don't know. I don't know.
But I understand why you can know what you do know and not want to just come alongside me and help me fix it and figure it out. Why do you want to stand behind an attorney? Forget your stupid money.
I don't care about the money.
I don't understand what you're afraid of then.
I care about the people here. This is not
These people here should be able to learn from the past. They should see you saying, look, this happened a long time ago and we did the wrong thing and we want to make sure we do it the right way. Watch us do it. Watch us do it.
I don't, all those things you talked about, I don't know about most of them. I don't know that we did the wrong thing.
I don't want to frustrate you any more than you currently are. You're absolutely right. Was it mishandled? 100%.
It destroyed my life. It ruined me. Do you understand that? It's not just mishandled.
Yes, I totally understand. I don't know. And I'm asking you to help me. I said I wanted to talk to you. I want to make it right. Was it mishandled by probably everybody? Shielagh, I want to be
when I came around wanting something from this place, I had a hope that you would save church for me. Prove to me that churches actually are capable of doing the right thing when it's the hard thing. And you didn't. You didn't. And I thought for sure when I filed the lawsuit how clear what actually happened with the abuse was. If people just had more information, then maybe they would act better. But they didn't.
I don't know if you heard that, but Alex said he wanted to fix it. He wanted to be a vessel for change. So I skipped a section where we talked about Murray's sermons, I think. Dale interrupted and asked me if I'd listened to the sermon where he repeatedly said that I was a victim. I cut him off, but this is my response.
You see the sermon where he repeatedly said...
He said one time that Sheila is the victim, and then at the end he prayed for that young lady from 20 years ago, the pain of soul and mind for this community. He said that young lady, but then he started praying for the community. Yeah, I saw it. And I also, he said there was a young lady who was horribly abused here 20 years ago, when at the time it was only 15 years ago, but whatever. And then victims come when sin is left unattended, or we turn a blind eye, or whatever happens. And let me give you some more examples from the Bible. And the first freaking example he gives, you know what it was? Samson and freaking Delilah. But there is hope, because, you know, there are examples of people in the Bible who didn't give in to this lust of the flesh. Think of, Joseph and Potiphar's wife. He said no. It cost him a couple years in jail, but he said no. And then he says that he doesn't have women in his office, which is not actually true, because of the history of this church. Don't put me in a compromising position. So, I mean, he called me a victim, and then everything he said after that framed the seductress as the real problem, because the men weren't paying attention to the fact that they're susceptible to the lust of the flesh. But I think it's fair for me to be affected by what's actually said.
It makes sense.
The way the churches see this issue, the way that women are mostly treated or viewed, and the way that that affects the way that women are treated, especially in situations like mine. It's that theology, that understanding. It's all those filters that kept people from hearing me. I'm hearing people tell me, well, we didn't know. We didn't know.
Can I tell you one other thing I've realized all these years later? You are not the only one being harmed. He was grooming the entire congregation.
So Dale is opening up a little bit, which I appreciate. And he just said something that he realized all these years later, is that I was not the only one being harmed. He was grooming the entire congregation. And I'm not trying to discount the pain that other people experienced. I know that other people who trusted him, other adults, other board members, were all very much affected and harmed by this. But the point that I've been trying to make over the course of time is that it is the church leader's responsibility to be aware of this whole dynamic, how this works, how grooming works, and put safeguards into place so that the process is much more difficult for someone with bad intentions. So Dale still has not put himself in a place where he can honestly say, I should have known. As a leader, I should have been more educated on this issue, and I wasn't. And there's nothing we can do about the past, but we can learn from the past properly and look forward to the future. And part of that is saying, I should have known, and I'm sorry that I failed you. He cannot do that.
I know that that's
all
true.
screwed up. We're all lied to.
But what I'm telling you is that, like, people, like, and I'm not throwing Mike Green under the bus. I don't think Mike Green is a bad person. Mike Green had the most access to information about Weaver's improprieties in the past. But the reason that he didn't see them for what they were, it's not because something was hidden. It's because of the way Mike Green saw Jonathan Weaver. And he said that in his resignation letter. I never in a million years thought that Jonathan Weaver would do what he did. It is because of that he was not able to see what was happening right in front of his eyes. And what I really want people to understand is why they did what they did. Not just sit here and say, well, we didn't know, and we didn't know how to handle it, and we didn't know what to do. Because that's fine and dandy, and I get it, that you didn't know. But you still did what you did, and you're going to do it again. If the opportunity arises because you don't understand why you did what you did. Do you understand that?
He said, I don't know that I agree with you, but I understand what you're saying. I skipped over a large section that you can try to understand if you go to YouTube, but Dale is whispering and it makes it very hard to understand. But basically the summary of what he said is that they spent a lot of years thinking about this and they don't want it to happen again, and they're not the same place they used to be. And my response to that is basically, if you're not the same, then why are you treating me exactly the same way that I was treated in 2005? If you've learned, why is the response the same? And I stand by my statement that they do not understand why they're acting the way that they're acting.
And I'm still getting treated like a threat. The reason I was treated by Narji and Buccio the way that I was treated in 05 is because they were afraid. And they consulted with the attorney, and apparently that's okay. They knew that they had access to money that could help me. I needed it then. I don't need it now. And I don't want it. But they wanted the story of the affair to be the one that prevailed. Because they knew that they knew crap beforehand and didn't do anything. And they were afraid of what was going to happen to them. And so I was a threat. I didn't know it then. And I was demonized. And I was run off.
So then Dale decides to tell me what he was afraid of. When I reached out to him in 2019, he said he did speak with Murray after I texted him. And the question presented to him was, what are you afraid of? And he had to think about it. And the next day he knew. What he was afraid of was unscrupulous attorneys. That was it. That's all he was ever afraid of, was unscrupulous attorneys, because he's lived in the world for a lot of years. He's seen things. But the concerning thing to me is the way that they think that this justifies their behavior. And the reason that it's concerning is because if someone were to come forward tomorrow, which I'm not saying that anyone there is an abuser, but if someone were to come forward tomorrow, they would be in the window for being able to file a lawsuit if they were a child for a very long time, until they're in their 50s now, because of the way CVA changed the statute of limitations. So if the attorney is the threat and they're justified in shunning, keeping at arm's length, not talking to a victim because they are afraid of what it will cost them, then I am not an anomaly here, and they will treat every new victim, God forbid there be one, exactly the same way they're treating me now. Can we actually only act like Jesus when there is no risk? I keep getting asked things like, well, why didn't you just tell them what you wanted right at the beginning? Why didn't you try harder? Why didn't you push harder? And I was looking for evidence that they were different. Because I don't believe that it is the victim's job to remove all risk and roadblocks before the church can be expected to do the right thing. There is so much expectation put on the victim. Now, don't be too angry and don't be too aggressive and don't be too harsh. Make sure you forgive immediately, even when people haven't even apologized to you. All of this expectation and demand put on the person who was harmed, while every excuse in the book is made for the people who are supposed to be able to teach other people how to live the Christian life. Something about this is very, very backwards.
So why didn't you want to come to me before? The Bible says to go to your accuser while they're on their way to court. I let you know I was on my way to court, but nobody came after me, and I tried to come after you.
What were you?
Not you specifically, but you knew that the CBA lawsuit was coming, and you were a representative of the church, I think. But nobody came to talk to me. Well, the attorneys say we can't talk to her.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Huh?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Do you realize that your lack of action has had a very negative effect on me?
I can see you are hurt.
What I wanted was for you to talk to me, to prove that when it's hard, you can do the right thing, even when you might lose something. And I think that's been the biggest loss in this process. And I wanted you to hire Grace to do a third-party investigation so that the truth of what happened all the way through could be published. That's what I wanted. But nobody wanted to talk to me. I don't really think it's my job to come here. And I appreciate you offering to talk to me, but it's 2.5 years late, and all the damage that's happened in the last 2 years, on top of everything that's already happened. Whether you know about it or not, like, you had the power to decide what to do, and if he wasn't doing what you wanted him to do, you had the power to fire him. I'm tired of being lied about, and then I told what Narji saw, and everybody thinks I'm a liar about that now. Like, you know, 5-0 was a liar about Weaver because nobody wanted to believe what he did. And now I'm a liar about Narji, and I'm a liar now apparently I'm accusing Murray of being a child molester, which I'm freaking not doing. How do we fix it? I don't have any idea, Alex. Because I think that it would involve a lot of,
And Shielagh, I don't think we can resolve this in one meeting. But you want to keep the conversation open, and so do I. And I think that's a start. Is it 2
I want
years?
Murray to stop lying about me. That's a good place
Is it
to
2
start.
years too late? Yeah, it's probably 10 years too late. But I want to start. It's the best I can do. I can't offer you anything more than that. But I want to start. I've got a whole lot to figure out what we did wrong, and we got to fix it. Is it 10 years too late? Yes. And I'm truly sorry for that. But let's keep this conversation going.
So one way to start is by clearing up any misinformation that is written.
Absolutely.
And I hope that there's still some way to redeem this mess. But I think that you need to realize that that's going to require more from you than it's going to require from me.
I don't deny that.
And some of it might be hard. I have no idea what you're thinking, but when you know what that looks like, let me know. Good night.
Please note the number of times that I said something that I wanted, and the number of times that Alex promised me he wanted to fix it, that he wanted to keep the conversation going, that he had to go back and do some research and figure out everything that they did wrong to fix it, that this was just the first of many conversations. He never spoke to me again. And we'll get to this later on, but I think it's important just to note it here for impact. Tom Slaughter even followed up with him and asked him if he had followed up with me like he promised he would in the meeting. And you know what Alex said? I don't have her phone number. And I'll get into this, but I thought for a minute there that they were actually trying to do something to fix this. But everything you just heard, either all of it was a lie and it was a show, all of it. I feel like Dale's softening was genuine. And I want to believe that what Alex said was genuine. But I don't know what happened between me getting up from that picnic table and going home and the next time that they talked to another person, because they must have collectively decided to straight up lie about what happened in that meeting. And I don't know why. I do not understand how they can walk away from this meeting and Alex can start telling people that I did not know what I wanted. Did I say I have no idea how we can fix it? Yes, I did. And it has proven true. I didn't think anybody was going to own their crap. When I started this lawsuit, all anybody had to apologize for was the past. 15 years ago. But now, at the time of this meeting, they had 2.5 years of lies and cover-up. Horrible behavior. Real-time behavior that now they were going to have to admit to in order to fix this. And I didn't think it was possible. But every day that passes makes me less and less hopeful that they could ever muster the moral courage to just face this, own up to what they did, and stop the bleeding. Anyway, you can go to YouTube, hopefully soon, to hear the entirety of the recording if you want to. And next week, I am going to talk about what happened the day after this meeting when I tried to figure out what Dale was talking about when he said that I was mistreating other people. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
If your community is dedicated to fostering a safe and supportive environment, connect with Grace, Godly Response to Abuse in the Christian Environment, at netgrace.org. Grace's mission is to empower Christian communities to recognize, prevent, and respond to abuse effectively. They provide vital resources and training to help churches understand the complexities of abuse and adopt effective prevention policy and trauma-informed responses.